Hi guys, Tom Mills here, and today we're going to be looking at reading and writing drum music. So mostly looking how to read it to begin with, but obviously that then makes us able to write it in the end. So this is a very important area of drumming. A lot of drummers don't learn how to read, and that's okay as well, but it's a very useful tool to have. I think in the long run it really helps you visualize parts and be able to problem solve very quickly, because you have the tools up here visually to know how what you're doing rhythmically is working. So it's very useful, I think, and it's just like reading. We're able to speak a language and we're able to read it, and it just gives you a lot more options. And also just learning it very, very early on is really important as well, because then it just makes the whole process so much easier. If you have to go back and relearn reading, once you've been playing drums for a long time, then it is much harder, and I know that from experience because I had to do it. But if you start it off very early, it's quite straightforward. So if we go straight onto this, onto the music stave here, if we have a look here, we've got this is what's called the music stave. So we've got it highlighted here into 4 sections. So these lines going down here are what's called the bar line. So we've got the music stave here, which is the 5 lines going across like that, and then bar lines which divide up the piece of music. Okay, so yeah, but bars are just a way of dividing up the piece of music that you're reading. Here we've got, if you see these 2 numbers here, 4/4, which is our time signature, which can be quite tricky. But to begin with, it really is quite simple. The top number here is how many beats we will count within this bar, and the bottom number here is what type of beat we're going to be counting. So here we're counting 4 quarter notes. So we'll get onto that. That should make a bit more sense soon. But that is essentially what time signatures are. They can get quite tricky and a bit more difficult as we move on, but really quite simple to begin with. So moving on, we've got where the different parts of the drum kit fall onto the music stave. Now, what's really nice about drum music is that each voice of the drum kit just has a different position on the music stave, and it works in frequency. Drums aren't really tuned to a note, but we go from the low pitch drums, bass drum here, up to the high pitch cymbals, the hi-hat, ride, crash. So we've got the bass drum down at the bottom, which is the lowest pitch drum, then which is sort of in between the bottom line, then in between the 4th sort of line there, and then in between the next one up, we've got the floor tom, and then in between the second space down, we've got the snare drum, and then just to confuse you a little bit, the second tom sits on that second line there, and then the first tom is in between here, and then we've got our high pitched cymbals, crash, ride, hi-hat, which always are marked with an X. So whenever you see an X written down, you know it's a cymbal. And then here at the bottom we've got the hi-hat foot, which obviously is a high-pitched sound, but we play it with the foot, so it's kept at the bottom of the music stave there. Okay, so those are our voices of the drum kit, and they never move around. But to begin with, all we're really going to be looking at with reading to get us a fay with how to read notes is this note here, which is a quarter note, which is on the snare drum line. So it's all going to stay on the snare drum line. So Sorry about that, I just got an email there. So the next thing to do is to look at these bars again. So we've got these 4 bars here. Now the best way to think about this is, imagine a bar of music is like a birthday cake, and what we're trying to do is split up that bar equally into 4 pieces. So when we do that, it looks like this. So we've got our 4 quarter notes here. Okay? So those are our 4 quarter notes, or our 4 pieces of cake. They're also called crotchets, which is the proper name for them, but I prefer to call them quarter notes because it's just an easier name to remember to begin with. And quarter notes, crotchets, always look like this. They've got a dot with one nice tail going up like that, and that is our quarter note. So if we split up our into 4 pieces, we've got 4 quarter notes happening. So we count them 1, 2, 3, 4, which relates to our time signature up here, doesn't it? 4. We're counting 4 quarter notes. Okay. So then another key thing to remember is, so these are what the notes look like when we play the note, but also we need to know what the relevant rests are. So a rest is when we're not playing a note, and this is important because sometimes we don't want to be playing notes all the time, and we need to know when we're reading a piece of music what it looks like where we don't play anything. So as you can see here, this bar is a quarter note rest, or a crotchet rest. Look, I always think it looks a little bit like a 3, tiny bit, but it's kind of like a squiggle, kind of like a 3 squiggle. But as you can see there, that is what a quarter note rest looks like. Okay. So these exercises here now, starting from here down to here, are what I want you to try and do. Basically, and we want to try and play this all just with one hand, just with the right hand. So we're just going to be trying to read this. So these first 4 bars are the same, and so the lines are all, so each line is the same. So each of these 4 bars is the same, and then the next line is slightly different. Okay, so what we're basically doing is starting to test our reading skills a little bit, because see, we've got this first bar, we're playing 1, 2, 3, and then we're resting on beat 4. And then we practice that for the first 4 bars. Playing 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. Okay? And then the next line, we're moving the rest, aren't we? The rest goes on beat 2. So we're going 1, rest, 3, 4, 1, rest, 3, 4, and so on. And then the next line, the rest is moving to beat 3. 1, 2, rest, 4. 1, 2, rest, 4. And so on. And then the last one here, we're resting on beat 1. Rest, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4. So those 4 exercises, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a very basic exercise, but this is essentially reading drum music, and this is, like I say, a basic version of it, but it's essentially what you have to do. Looking for the notes and the rests, and playing them where it says to play them and where not to play them. So, and obviously from there we have more intricate, we have more notes, and we have more rests, and we have different time signatures and stuff like that. But as a real basic foundation, this is what I want you to practice. So going over all of that, you'll start to have quite a basic understanding, but a really good understanding of reading drum music, and in turn be able to write it down as well. So obviously from here I will do more lessons leading on from this, but this is kind of your first basic lesson on reading drum music. Okay, thanks a lot guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.